Hey everybody, Charles for HumbleMechanic.com, and it's Thursday, so you know what that means. It's tool review day. Today we're going to talk about something that, at first I kind of thought was one of the sort of gimmicky tools, but I'm actually sort of surprised as to how well it worked. And that's the Schwaben Volkswagen connector. They call it a removal tool, but it's really more of a connector release tool. It's about $15, and I ordered it from ECS Tuning, which is a pretty good site to get Volkswagen, Audi, BMW parts from, and they sell a lot of tools as well. And I stumbled across this little tool right here, and it looked cool. It looked, like I said, it looked a little gimmicky, but for $15, I figured I'd go ahead and give it a shot. Now, I've sort of been testing it out at the shop just to get a feel for it. And things like this tend to make me nervous. You know, these connectors on Volkswagens are sort of fragile as it is, and I don't really want to do anything to increase the chances of me breaking something, especially when it comes to a connector on a customer's car. So I sort of rigged up this little jig here with a connector, and I'm going to walk you guys through using this. And I'm also going to drop a couple of tips for undoing connectors if you maybe don't have a tool like this or run into one of those really stuck Volkswagen connectors. So let's talk about the tool real quick before I do the demo. It's a really solid, well-built little tool. You can see there's the two grooves there. Those two grooves match in the groove of the connector, and I'll zoom in a little bit and demo doing that a little bit better than just right there. It's a plastic end and a metal shank right here. Fairly weighty little tool. I don't know, a few ounces, but it has a good feel in your hand, so it's not some flimsy, cheap thing. It actually has a pretty good feel to it. Again, initially I was really concerned about the functionality of it because these connectors tend to break really easily. I'm trying to do this and watch, making sure I do this right. Here we go. They tend to break pretty easily just with normal use, which is pushing this thumb release and separating it like that. So I was very concerned. Like I said, I didn't want to use a product that would increase the chances of me breaking a connector. You guys know that if you've had any experience undoing Volkswagen or Audi connectors that are this style of connector, that they tend to get fragile, especially the ones under the hood, the coil pack connectors, the mass airflow connectors. Those are all really, really fragile, especially when they get some age on them. So like I said, the tool, it's fairly affordable. Let me get that back in the screen so you guys can see it. The tool is fairly affordable. It's only about $15. Good construction. It works pretty well. The other cool thing, and really what sort of pushed me to buying it, is that it gives you a little bit of extra reach. And when I got it, the part specifically that I had in mind for disconnecting the connector on was actually like an A4 platform, so Mark IV platform, driver's side door latch. The door latch is sort of tucked up, and the connector release is actually facing the door, so it's a little tricky to get your hand in there and release it. And I thought something like this would be really cool to do that. Not that I replace a whole lot of Mark IV door latches these days, but it definitely looked like it would be a helpful tool to have in that situation. Like every tool, though, it's not 100% perfect. I think they did a great job building it, but let's face it, I've spent 10 plus years disconnecting Volkswagen connectors without it and have had a lot of success. But anytime you can buy a tool, especially a very affordable tool at only $15, that'll make your job a little bit easier. Generally I tend to jump on that kind of opportunity. And I'll always have a bit of reservation on something like this, just because, again, these connectors are very fragile. So So doing anything to sort of put weird strain on a connector and increase the risk of breaking it's not something I generally want to do. So I'm going to zoom in and show you guys how this works. So that's about as zoomed in and bright as I can get it. And this is just a standard connector. I actually got this from a set of fans that I replaced off an A5 or Mark V Jetta. And you know, this was cool because it had both ends, male and female, of the connector. So normally the way you would disconnect this connector would be to push this thumb tab and pull the connector apart. You know, I use my other thumb to sort of push it, but pushing this connector in, or this tab in, and pulling it apart, and that releases a connector inside that you guys aren't going to be able to see. So that's the way you would normally do it, just by hand. Now, using the tool, you'll notice that there's two grooves that lay right in the grooves of the connector. And as you lay that in there and pull, it'll actually pull that same tab and release the connector just the same. My concern has been that, you know, it'll put weird strain on that and actually break this little tab right here, and then the connector has no way to latch on the latch tab right there. But as you can just see there, it worked really well. It just pulls apart right like that. So in a hard to reach place, I think this is a really great tool to have. It makes it a little bit easier to disconnect the connector. Now, if the connector is seized, like it's been connected for many, many years, or it's gotten hot, cold, or there's dirt and grime in it, you still need to take a lot of extra care to make sure you don't break the connector. And the best tip that I have for disconnecting this style of connector, or the kind that have like the springs on the outside right here, which I don't have any laying around, maybe I'll do another video at some point of tips on disconnecting those, but really the best way to disconnect these without a tool is to pull the release tab a little, jam the connector together, and then push the tab all the way back, and it'll come loose right away. And that just basically frees the lock piece off of this little locking tab right here. So that'll usually just about get any connector unconnected. If you have to and it's really jammed up, you can also spray it with some lubricant or something like that, and that'll help ease the separation of the connector. So there you go, guys. That's pretty much it. You know, it's a simple tool, which makes for a simple tool review. But as you can see, that works pretty darn good. Let me do that one more time. That works pretty darn good. So so far, I'm happy with it. For 15 bucks, I think it's a good investment. If you're taking a ton of connectors off, or again, connectors that are kind of in a weird, hard to reach spot. Volkswagen sort of moved away from this style of connector, at least you know, in other parts of the car that aren't under the hood. That's still a really common connector for body connectors and things under the hood. Interior wise, we've moved a bit away from that, and they have connectors that are just, they're worse, and they're spring loaded, and they can be challenging to disconnect. But you know, door latches, coils, airflow meters, engine coolant temp sensors, oxygen sensors, again, body connectors, most of your under the hood type stuff will still have this style of connector, even through, you know, the B8, B7, B8s. I assume the B8s will have that. And A7 or Mark 7 platform cars. So that's about it. You know, out of 5 stars, I'd probably get a 4.5 to this little tool. Good construction, works pretty well, easy to use, I mean, easy to figure out, and seems like it'll hold up really well long term. Again, longevity is not an issue with this. My only concern would be how it holds up to multiple times. The connector, not the tool, so just keep that in mind. Anyway, I'll put links to where you can buy this in the show notes. I did buy it from ECS. I paid full retail for it. This was not a paid advertisement or anything like that. Just a really cool tool that I thought you guys might be interested in. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments section below. Thank you guys for all the likes and the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or on the blog. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'll throw a picture of this up on Instagram and try and get some feedback from you guys that way. If you have a tool that you would like for me to review, whether you're a tool company and want to know my thoughts on what you make, or if you're a tech or just a garage junkie like a lot of people and have a tool that you've been thinking about buying, throw me a link. You can email me, charles@humblemechanic.com, and I'll take a look. If it's something that I have, I'll be more than happy to review it. If it's something that I have to buy, well, that'll depend on how much it costs, or if you want to reach out to the company and have them throw in my information and try and help me out, I'll be more than happy to do a review for you. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.